Okay, now we are going to look at the types of CSS files. Basically, the main CSS file that we normally use when we create a web page, there are three: the external CSS, the internal CSS, okay, or also known as embedded CSS, and the local or inline CSS. But there is also other type of CSS file, such as, for example, media specific CSS and alternate CSS. Now, I will explain one by one, okay, what does it mean by each of them. Now, first of all right, for your information, doesn't matter what type, okay, of CSS file used, they are still CSS. The major difference between each and every file is actually in terms of location where the CSS is written. All right. For example, the first, okay, the external CSS. Now, what is actually external CSS? Now, external CSS file is actually separated from HTML file, meaning that there are two files. One is HTML file, for example, index.html, okay? And second is CSS file. For example, let's say the name is style.css, all right? Now, the two files will be linked with each other. Okay, where the link appeared, okay, the link will be made in the head section of the HTML file. Now, what is the advantage of external CSS is that, okay, more than one HTML file can actually share the same CSS file. What does it mean? Imagine this. If we have, for example, 20 pages in our website, okay, meaning that we have 20 HTML files, and we want all the files, okay, or all the pages in our website to share similar styles in terms of layout, in terms of formatting. We want them to share the similar style. So what we can do is that we only need one CSS file, and this one CSS file can actually be shared, okay, with the 20 HTML file. So in the end, okay, all the pages in your website will have the same style, will have the same formatting. If you want to apply changes, okay, to the layout, for example, you only need to do it, okay, in the CSS file, and the changes will take effect, okay, on all pages. All right, so that is actually the advantage of external CSS. Now, as you can see here, all right, this is example of what been written, okay, in the head section of the HTML. In the head section, okay, we have to create what we call a link tag. So this is the link tag, all right, whereby you can see, okay, in link tag, we stated name of the CSS file. For example, in this case, let's say cssbasic.css. So that's, okay, the first type of CSS file. We call it external CSS, right? Now, the second one, the second is what we call internal CSS. Some book also refer it as embedded CSS. So it doesn't matter whether you call it internal or embedded CSS, they are the same thing. Now, unlike external CSS, where we have two files, okay, and they are separated, except that they are linked from the link tag in the head section of HTML file, internal CSS, we don't have extra CSS file. We don't have separated CSS file. Instead, the CSS is actually written in the head section of the HTML file. All right. For example, like this. Let's say in this case, okay, this is the head section of the HTML file. And as you can see here, all right, in the head section, we have an opening tag style and closing tag style. And inside it is where you can see the CSS. strong color green. Okay. Now, when should we use internal CSS? Okay. Now, if you want to apply the style only to that HTML file, okay, you don't want to apply it to other pages. You just want to apply to that HTML file, then that is the time for you to use internal CSS. Whatever style you declare in the head section of the HTML file will only apply to that file. Other pages will not affected. Okay, so that's it. The second type of CSS file, the internal CSS. And now the third one. All right, the third one. The third types, okay, of CSS file is what we call local or inline CSS. Now, local CSS is located in HTML element itself. Okay, and local CSS is suitable if we want to apply style only to that element. Now, what does it mean? For example, this file. Let me show you. Okay, if you look at the word local CSS, okay, and here in this paragraph, we have two words, okay, local CSS. Here we have another one, local CSS. But this local CSS is colored in green. Okay, colored in green. This one is colored in, this one is colored in orange. Okay, but this one colored in green. Mari kita tengok what happened. I will view the source. Okay, make it a little bigger. Here, all right. Now, if you look at the word local CSS, the text content, local CSS, okay, before the word local CSS, okay, I created a strong tag, open tag strong, okay, and closing tag strong, all right. Now, in the word local CSS, okay, sorry, yes, in the from the word local CSS, you can see, okay, from the strong tag, I add an attribute called style. When you add an attribute style, it is definitely pointing to CSS. And if you look at the value here, the value state color colon orange, meaning that this is actually the inline, okay, CSS, all right, inline CSS, and this is how inline CSS were written, meaning that the CSS is written inside the element. Maknanya dalam strong, okay, we type, okay, or we write the CSS style, all right. So guys, that's it. Okay, the three types, okay, of mean CSS file type: the external CSS, the internal, okay, or embedded CSS, and third is the local or the inline CSS. Right now, these are the three options that we used to use, okay, when we create a web page with CSS. Now, the other CSS file, okay, is like this one, media specific CSS. Okay. Now, with media specific CSS, you can add an attribute media. Okay, you can add an attribute media. Okay, and from there you can define the output. Okay, for example, print, screen, all. Okay, or even alternatively add media. Now, have you seen a page, okay, where it have different background colors, for example, or background image, okay, font setting, okay, but then you have an option. When you want to print that particular page, normally they will look different, okay, in terms of layout, okay, maybe instead of colors, now when you print, they become black and white. Okay, if they have background image, for example, okay, maybe when you print, the background image is hidden. All right, for example. Okay, so this is actually what you can do. You can determine, okay, printed style, okay, or any other output that you wish to create. Okay, this is what we call a media specific CSS. And then, guys, okay, the last one is what we call alternate CSS, right? Alternate CSS allow us to link to more than one style sheet. Okay, this is what we used to see when we browse ataupun when we look at blog, for example. Okay, blog normally they apply alternate CSS, whereby okay, if you read blogs, okay, you can actually choose okay how you want to read the blog in terms of the layout. Okay, for example, there are classic view, there are thumbnail view, okay, and a lot other way, okay, ataupun other setting, okay, to the block layout. All right, so this is what we call alternate CSS, where you can link to more than one style sheet. So that's it, the first part of today's topic, okay, the basic or what we call, okay, different types of CSS file.